Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're going to talk about A Flyaway, and this is published by Playlog Creations and Tuber Productions.
All right, you guys, this game is all about these kind of migratory patterns of all these different birds all throughout Asia. And on top of that, you're kind of doing this route building mechanism as to fulfill those different patterns. On top of that, it has kind of a focus on the endangered species of all these different animals and kind of what people are doing to try to save some of these species, which is cool. Let me show you how it works. All right, here is our setup for Fly Away. We have our large map board here. We have our special ability cards, our wing it cards. We also have some negative event cards called foul plays. We've got all of our individual player colors. Over there, I've got them in my Uber trays. And then we have our bird cards over here on the side. We have a deck. And we have 3 out in the roosting area at any given time. And then the discard pile, which they call the death zone. So there's 3 dots over here. There's kind of a white, a red, and a black. There's going to be a bird on each one of those dots. And on each one of these birds, we're going to have some information. First of all, when you achieve this bird, you're going to get 2 points. There's 3 different landscapes. There is the wetlands, the open country, and the forests. And this little dot at the top here tells you which one that is its main habitat. There's some fun facts about the birds. This one in particular here, the stellar sea eagle, says it's among the largest eagles in the world with a bill made for chomping up fish. It's got its size from nose to tail. It also says its starting location here in Russia. On the grid, we're going to call it C5 on the board. It's going to end in, I'm going to say this wrong, Hokkaido. And then that's on the grid on the board E8. Now, because it's on the white dot over here on the side of the board, we've marked it with these little white houses. So you can see this is where starting location. This is where it's trying to get to. Some of them, like this red bird here, this is the western osprey over here. It's trying to get from here all the way down to here during its migratory pattern. So that's really what we're trying to do, is we're trying to connect these different houses, the white to white, the black to black, and the red to red, in order to get these birds from their summer homes to their winter homes. As the birds finish their routes, you're going to put more birds out there, and then obviously those new birds are going to have different starting and ending locations, so you're going to move the houses based off of those cards. On your turn, you're going to draw a wing it card. Wing it cards are special abilities that may do things like, let's say this one here, the sustainable farming, says you're going to be able to place some extra links on the board. Then you've got a card like this one that says funds for conservation. It's going to give you some extra victory points based off of the endangered species level of extinction. Then you've got these Squawk Cards. Squawk Cards are basically special abilities that help you kind of defend against the foul play cards, which we're about to talk about. Now, there's a ton of different variety of these cards all in that Wing It deck, but they're all good things to help you out. Next up, we're going to go to the foul play deck, and we're going to draw one of these events. They're leveled tier 1, 2, 3, increasingly difficult. But basically, they're going to say things like this. This one says, birds get disoriented by bright lights in towns and cities, especially at night. This time, you're only going to place 2 links this turn. We haven't talked about this yet, but you're going to place 3 links every turn. So this one's going to say, basically, you can only place 2 of the 3 you normally would be able to. However, the Squawk Cards that we talked about, based off the number in the top right, you can play that value of Squawk Card in order to get rid of one of these foul play cards. The Squawkets, there's 1, 2, and 3 level, so you can play one of those to stop these. And again, they're going to get increasingly harder and harder and require more of those Squawk cards in order to prevent them from happening. Also interspersed throughout the foul play deck, there are these bird catastrophe cards. These are kind of events that are going to happen to the entire board. They're going to happen to every player, not just the person whose turn it is. And they are things that are going to, affect the birds in a big way. So we've got a sea level rise here. Coastal habitats are destroyed and damaged by rising sea levels. So this time, each player can only place 1 link on the map this round. Or overgrazing. Remove all links connected to open countries in habitats G, H, and I. And that's kind of a region of the board. There's a G, H, and I bandwidth across the board there to help you find things. After we've drawn our wing it cards and our foul play cards, then it's our turn to play our routes here. We're going to be able to place 3 of these paths. And usually what you want to try to do is you want to try to connect things. Trying to connect, the red to the red. Only one person can be on that particular path, so on the next player's turn, they could not overlap us, but they could add on. Do something like that. You cannot just place one item by itself. You could not just do this over here. You do have to have it so that something that you place is connected to something else that you've placed. So either that means doing 2 things at a time, off on their own like this, or connecting onto something that you've already placed, maybe like this. once someone is able to finish off a bird, they're going to be some points awarded. So let's say pink was able to kind of do most of the work here, connecting the black to black, but the teal color is the one who finished it off. Now remember, I can't just place one, but I could place two, something like that. So now black is connected to black. What's going to happen is, for every route along that path that has there's a token there, everyone's going to get a point. So, for instance, pink placed 1, 2, 3 routes, they would get 3 points in the track, and then teal placed 1, so they would get the 1 point. But they'd also go over here to get the black card, which in this case is this Japanese quail. They would get an additional point based off the card there. And now there's some special abilities here as well for the card that they've gained it. This one says, use at the end of the game, tally the number of links that you have placed on open country areas, and add that to your score. It's not going to be worth a lot of points at the end of the game, especially if you kind of focus on those open country regions of the board. Other birds might give you special abilities that allow you to add extra tokens down, maybe steal some birds from other people, all kinds of different special abilities that you can get from all these different bird cards. Now the game is going to end once either one player has 6 birds in front of them, 6 birds that they've saved, or our foul play deck, as kind of a timer, runs out. Once one of those two things happens, you've basically finished the round so that everyone has an equal number of turns, and then the game ends. You're going to count up all your points. You kind of should have been doing that all throughout the game as it was, but you're going to count up your points. Whoever has the most points wins the game.
This game introduced me to so many different types of birds. Like, I'm fairly familiar with a lot of the birds in our area, mainly because our daughter got this, like this book, this local book with all the stuff, and so she would look things up, and so I learned through my daughter through having that. But besides that, outside of my region, I just don't know. So I love the fact that I was introduced to all these different birds, all these different little facts and weird things about them, and how they go from here to there, how endangered they are. I really loved all of that, and it also had very compelling artwork to partner with that, with the education, with the fun, with learning about all these different birds, and then really nice artwork to go with that as well.
I really enjoy train games. The reason I enjoy train games is all of these kind of a lot of pick up and deliver mechanisms and route building. That's kind of a big thing that train games do. And whenever I hear route building, I always kind of immediately go to train games.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do. You're usually building these routes. You're laying track down or whatever the case is. And so playing this game, we were immediately like, hey, we're building routes. This is a train game. So it turns out, but it's not a train game, it's a bird game.
But we both thought that. We're like, is this a train game?
This is a train game. So it turns out, it's not that I like train games, it's that I like route building games. It's just that the majority of the route building games I've been playing have been train games.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really fun to see that mechanism with a different theme and done in a different way.
So they have these foul play cards, which I'm sure Ryan showed you, and these bird catastrophes. And I felt like when we were playing that they were pretty well balanced, right? They had these squawk cards so you could counteract some of them, but there was also some that you just couldn't counteract, and it made sense with what that bird, with what that foul play is, or with what that bird catastrophe was. Like, some things make sense that you can mitigate them, and other things make sense that you wouldn't be able to mitigate those. And yes, you could just by pure, luck of the draw, somebody could be drawing all the squawk cards, and you could be stuck with all the crappy stuff, but I felt like because of how much it was and how many things there were of just both squawk and both in the foul play, I felt like it hit everybody equally. And so it wasn't like just getting down and down and down. It was bad things happening to everybody on a semi-fair level, so that was good.
Everyone kind of starts at the same place. Everyone has the same resources, the same options they can do in their turn. But as you start acquiring some of these birds, they have special abilities and special scoring parameters. So it was really fun to get some of those, and then you can start kind of modifying things in different ways. Maybe you get to place some extra paths out there, or maybe you get to get some extra points when other people do things, or maybe you get some special abilities. There's all kinds of different things that can happen once you acquire these birds, and they're all different, which made for everyone has different paths. Then once you started getting some of these birds, now it's asynchronous in a way.
Yeah. So this had really interesting rule placements of placement rules. Rule placement.
You're placing rules on the board. Hey, that's a fun board game concept.
So it makes sense. So birds are only going to travel north to south, right? So there's the different routes on the board. So you can't go north and then, or you can't go south and then north to go south, because that's not what a bird would do. So even though that was really neat and interesting, and I don't even think that should have been taken away from the game, it got a little confusing, I guess, at first when we were first playing, and especially how you can add to a route, but you can only add so much, or you have to add so much to a route, and so it kind of got like weird a couple of times when things were happening, like, can I do that or can I not do that, and just having to really look at it and visualize that. So it's neither like good or bad, it just, that is something that happened with the game.
Another thing that happened in the early game of this game was every single time we played was there would be a path, right, connecting, the bird's starting place to its destination, and you can only place 3 paths at a time. And so let's say Bethany places 3 in succession towards it. I can come behind and I could place 3. But why would I do that? Because there's only 1 left. Bethany would just place that 1, finish off the bird, get the points for it. So in the early game especially, there's this kind of this hesitancy to place things on the board in a way that would be helpful to finish off these birds, because you're just not wanting to set up the next person in turn order to take points. And so you kind of just stalled out. You're placing stuff in odd places, hoping that someone else kind of sets you up. And it's kind of stalled out for us at the beginning of the game.
Every time we played. Yeah.
Every single time we played. So once things kind of got sorted out on the board, maybe some special abilities allowed us to finish off a bird or whatever the case is, then you kind of have a full network, and then you're just adding on to a couple, then you can get a bird almost every turn, by the midpoint of the game. But that first half of the game can be really a slog as you're kind of waiting for someone to finally push something over the edge to finish off a bird.
We might also just be too competitive.
That could be. Instead of trying to think about the birds, we're thinking about ourselves.
Like, no, I'm not going to give this to you. I'll just put, like, random track markers everywhere besides
That's exactly what we would do.
It is. It is. But overall, I really enjoyed this game. I liked playing it out, and like Ryan said, by the middle of the game, after we had gotten a few birds with those special abilities, or special squawk, or like the squawk cards, or just whatever that can manipulate the board a little bit, then it really got moving. And so this is a game that I actually really enjoyed this one. I wasn't sure what to think of it. And the same with Ryan. I think I also like route building games as well.
Yeah, I think this is a game that played really well once you got that midpoint of the game. It finished really strong. It had that kind of educational a little bit to it. The educational part that kind of complemented with the gameplay to kind of work together well. This is a fun one, kind of a surprise for us, and we enjoyed it.
I gotta say, they were super optimistic about that score tracker, though.
Yeah, let's like 100.
Yeah.
We're like, if we get to 50, we'll be happy.
I don't think that even ever, did it maybe happen once?
Again, maybe because we're too competitive.
It could be. Yeah, it just is like, what do they think? How do they think we're going to get this? But, it's okay to be optimistic. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us on Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.